This could happen to any of you. You are dating somebody, seeing somebody, maybe in a long term relationship for even a couple of years. And things seem to have been going good from the start. And all of a sudden, you just sort of notice that that spark is gone. It's no longer there. And for some reason, she's just not that engaged or enthusiastic about you or about the relationship. Is it over? Is it gone? Well, what can you do about it? Watch this to the end and find out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pod Class. We got somebody in the background dropping off some DoorDash. Anyway, so we're going to talk about losing the spark. All right. And what happens when that happens. Really, it's something that happens when you lose frame. Okay. Frame is gone because your frame and the frame you have for the relationship is to shut that off. Hold on here. The frame you have for the relationship is to, have her be attracted to you, right? And all of a sudden, though, that's no longer a thing. So, what do you do? And a lot of times it sneaks up on you. It's like it just happens gradually and slowly. And thanks. Yeah, I'm not at the usual studio today. So we got a little bit different background. I had to play with the lighting so it would work out. But anyway, yeah, so things, just sort of slowly erode away. It can happen during the dating phase, but usually there's a honeymoon phase first. And then after that is when that sort of sets in. And you sort of get into this thing where you're together, but there's just no spark. Usually sex goes down, or you notice the sex is less enthusiastic. I mean, all these things are essentially out of frame, right? They're not what you expect. They're not what you want. That's not what you envision for a relationship. You start to then wonder what else is going on. Is she seeing somebody else? Is she thinking of an ex? Has she been alpha widowed? Is she just, is this just the way she is? Right? Um, Whatever. There's all kinds of things that could be wrong. And so let's get into it. So here's the thing. There's a lot of stuff on the internet and stuff that has been put out there to kind of help you regain the frame. Um, Outside of my channel and the scope of what I talk about, it's a lot of it is problematic because it's not nuanced enough. Okay, so there's some good stuff out there. Like Red Pill Space put out some good stuff because you had your married Reddit. What is it? The Reddit space for the married red pill guys and all that. And these are guys who essentially lost frame in the relationship. Wives were not attracted to them anymore, and so they were coming up with sort of a formula or a solution for that, trial and erroring their way through it. And there's some decent stuff there. However, your individual relationship with this person is going to have a little bit more nuance than that. So what that means is sometimes those protocols, like whether it's the 12 steps of dread or whether it's, a similar protocol to that, like all those things, they may work or they might not work. All right. There's an idea of trying to come up with some universal principle and steps so you guys can kind of you know, your way through it. Well, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Life doesn't work that way. Relationships don't work that way. There's a lot more nuance to that. And there are similarities with our instincts and with instinctual drives, and women have similarities in their way of how they're driven by instinct, right? But how that shows up in the variance of it, what motivates that individual, drives an individual, what they've been conditioned with since they've, grown into adulthood, what goes on in their unconscious, like all these things are a little bit more nuanced. And so what strategy do you actually employ? It's a little more nuanced than just following some steps, right? Um, Knowing how to diagnose and have awareness of your partner and what's going on in the relationship is a separate skill that most guys don't have, particularly high value guys, because high value guys having options, they tend to not learn what these skills are in order to diagnose and learn about this their individual partner. And so this is where you run into situations where you got guys with, all of they check all the blocks in terms of S&V and value, getting their asses handed to them in relationships, losing their half their shit in a divorce, losing access to their kids, losing the girl that they were in love with, or having it not work out in their relationships, even though they have all the value and they can spurg through the steps. Problem is there's empathy that needs to be taken involved here, and there's nuance and a way of having awareness of your partner in your individual relationship, and more importantly, having awareness of yourself. What is it you are actually trying to do here? What is it you're going for? And a lot of you guys, you think you know, but you actually don't, right? You're not aware of what you want. So many times I get guys in consults and they're like, here's the problem, here's what's going on. And so I'll go, okay, well, what do you want out of this? What is success for you? What solution? What When we implement solutions, what is the goal we're going for here? They can't answer that question. A lot of times because guys are not the selectors, tend to not be the selectors. They end up meeting a girl that smells nice, looks pretty, and touches their pee, and so they decide to go for that girl and then arrange their life and their understanding of how to approach that relationship around that particular chick they like. That's not exactly frame. That's not having choice. So instead of selecting a partner amongst a lot of choices, even the guys who have a lot of choices, well, what happens is their buttons get pressed by some particular girl, and then they find themselves, okay, how do I arrange my relationship goals in my life around this girl's goals and what she thinks is good for her, right? And it puts her at the helm, it puts her at the mental point of origin instead of a guy staying on his mental point of origin and having her decide if, he's a good match for her as he decides, hey, I think you're a good match for me. And then she jumps on board, right? And becomes that support system for him instead of that being what happens, which is a more natural. I mean, again, there are nuances here, but that is a more instinctual, natural way of doing things, which means that there's going to be a lot less bad feelings and opposition and all of those things once you get through social conditioning and you can set that aside and isolate with your partner. It's going to feel better to her and it's going to feel better to the guy or to you to have that structure where you're moving along on your purpose and she's along for the ride. Most guys, though, don't set themselves up that way. They don't know how to set themselves up that way, including a lot of you guys listening to me right now. You're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do in theory, but you don't really. When you find that girl that you like, you end up throwing it all out the window and you end up not doing those things that you need to be doing. Well, you actually don't know what to do. In theory, I need to be on my purpose as a man and she needs to be, my woman by my side or whatever your language is to describe it. But as it turns out, she's pretty, she smells nice, she touches your pee. And so now you're like, well, maybe I'll arrange my life a little bit differently because because of because of our relationship. Maybe I'll not, go for this thing that I was envisioning or have the family I envisioned or have the future I envisioned because it doesn't quite fit with her ideas of how things should go. And what it is you end up falling to her frame and her paradigm. And anytime you do that, lose leadership, she's going to lose interest. I mean, that's just the way it is. But back to it though, like the actual the actual topic here, which is the spark going away, happens to guys of the utmost highest value with the girls that they decide to settle down with. Happens all the time. And again, it's because these guys have options, they have choice, and they're also focused on bigger problems. Well, I'll say bigger problems, but they're focused on bigger problems than the average guy. So they don't take the time, they don't have time or feel they have time or understanding like to, get into nuances of relationship skills. That's the problem. And so in my year-long mastermind program, and I'm taking 10 guys and I got a number of signups for it already, but there's a few seats left. I haven't been heavily advertising it, but you can click the link in the description, schedule an appointment, see if you're a candidate. But I'm taking guys along the ride for a year, and I'm only taking 10 with massive amount of accountability. And the reason why is because learning these skills is what's going to prevent you from screwing up the rest of your life. It's not just screwing up your relationship. I mean, that's problematic enough, and going through that pain or heartache, or going through, life just not really having your sex life and having your life with women exactly the way that you want. Either it's too casual. Okay, I figured out how to spin plates now. Look at me. But, I have to keep every girl at arm's distance, because if I let them get too close, if I let things go too far, then she's going to lose interest in me, right? It's going to go south. I'm going to lose frame. Don't let her move in with you. You'll lose frame. Don't do this. Don't do that. You'll lose frame, right? All of these things. And instead of, instead of figuring out, hey, here's the life I actually want with women in my life, and now let's do an action plan to get there. And then, of course, you think, well, I'm going to, not focus on women. I'm going to focus on more important things. You think that's going to work for you. It doesn't. Why doesn't it? Because your primary instinct is to have sexual access, is to mate. Your chimp brain as a male is to have a chick or a bunch of chicks, right? That is what your chimp brain drives you towards. Your existential image and self-image is partially revolving around your ability to do well in the sexual marketplace, because our primary drive as human beings is to mate. So you could be chasing excellence, getting your body in order, getting your life in order, having the house you want, doing the traveling you want, doing all the cool things you want. But if you don't feel like your, we'll say, reproductive life or your relationship life is where you want it, it's going to pull you out of your own frame and your own goals. You see, when you have stuff sorted out with women and your girl isn't losing the spark, you're able to focus on your purpose and she becomes a support. When you don't have your shit sorted out, what happens is mental focus, time, energy, all that stuff gets pulled away from your ability to do better. And I see it happen all the time. Guys who had the discipline to not focus on women too much when they were younger, well, what do? They find the one, they find the chick and the girl, because they, make good money and they have good resources and all this stuff. They find the girl that's pretty and smells nice and touches their pee-pee and treats them a little differently as a higher value man than how the girls in college treated him. He wifes her up, he brings her in his house, does all these things with absolutely no frame whatsoever. She loses attraction. She destroys him in the relationship. That's what ends up happening. Some of you guys listening are there right now. I've had guys come to my mastermind group who were there, right? And then now they're not. Okay. And the thing is, it's the price of your time and a little bit of energy to sort this stuff out pays back in dividends, because it makes your dating life, your relationship life less mentally and emotionally consuming in a bad way. It ends up becoming mentally and emotionally empowering and motivating rather than consuming. But all that's based on you and how you handle women in your life and the frame you're able to keep and the skills that you have. High value men oftentimes don't have these skills. That's why they join a coaching group like what I have. This is not an advertisement for that or lengthy advertisement, but that is a thing. You have to learn the skill. Your social conditioning, what you think is right, is probably not. Click the link in the description if you think you're a candidate. There's a few seats left, and maybe you'll get in. That would be cool. Basically, I'd like to have you. I got you and 9 other guys in my text and DMs, and we solve problems as well as tons of other value and course material and one-on-one consults, everything else gets you in order. All right. So what happened though? This has happened to you before. I know it. Or it happened to your parents. Or it happened to your um best friend, right? It happened when you were dating. It happened when you were, in a serious relationship, at a serious girlfriend. Maybe it happened in your marriage, and you lost that chick. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, but it could happen. It's down the line. Or maybe it's happening to you right now where that spark is gone. What do we do? What do you do? So, first thing, okay, is you want to get awareness of the situation in a diagnosis. It helps to have friends who know things about this stuff, or me, or guys in my group. That's what's nice about having a community of guys, whether it's my community or somebody else's, where they have a good idea about these things and they can kind of give you an informed opinion. Even if their opinion's not right, at least steers your mind in the right direction. One thing that is not talked about enough in all of these steps to dread and making your girl like you again is the part or step where you get a clear and clean diagnosis of what's actually happening in your relationship. Excuse me. So that's important because you could take a course of action. For example, let's say that her reasons for kind of drifting out of the relationship, putting less effort into it, not having that excitement or enthusiasm for you that you notice. Let's say that is due to a serious concern that she feels she has, and it could be with her future, her relationship, maybe with you. And that is something that needs to be addressed or talked about. And she doesn't know how to talk about that with you, doesn't have those communication skills, or she's tried to talk about it with you and you weren't listening or entertaining the conversation, or perhaps you did something messed up, right? And you think it's fine, it's over with, whatever. And it's not really over with for her. It kind of put her out in left field and seeing you differently than when you guys started the relationship. And so her mind and her attraction to you is now compromised. Let's say that's the reason it happened. Well, if you follow some of the red pill protocols for dread, you may very well lose that relationship, because in the beginning, what it's going to have you doing is going to have you basically focusing more on yourself and focusing less on the relationship and not wanting to address any problems, right? It's kind of like push pull. You're going to try to, it goes under the assumption from all these guys that were in a married red pill forum, all these dudes who simped for their wives. That's what that advice was for. And so you're a guy who didn't simp for your wife. Maybe you cheated on her, right? Maybe you did something crazy. Maybe there's, some serious concern that she has that she needs to address with you. Instead of finding out what that concern is, using, let's say, in my instructional information, you got it for free on my channel, the Luca format, LUCA, you can look that up on my channel, to use that communication formula to like draw it out of her, figure out what's going on. It could have been just a simple obstacle that needed to be overcome. And then once you overcame that obstacle and put the effort into doing that, all of a sudden that she can relax and that desire can come back, right? She had too much actual dread and tension in a sexually closed manner where she no longer trusted you. Let's say that's the scenario. And then and then you start treating everything that she says like it's a shit test because you're following step number one of 12 levels of dread. You see the problem here? You're going to fuck it up, is the problem, if that's your story, if that's your situation. Now, if you were somebody who was really doing a lot of weak and needy behaviors and, kind of like been trying to sort of love language simp your girlfriend or your wife, and she has no appreciation for it, and she's been taking you for granted, and there's all these problems, and then you decide to, I don't know, learn how to handle her shit test, which you hadn't been doing before, and you start, focusing on your self-work, which is those first few steps and those 12 levels of dread. For those of you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that'll work. That'll be good. So it's going to depend on what's going on with her. All right. So getting a firm diagnosis is super important. I'm going to go glance now at this chat here. If you got things to say and you want me to notice them, throw a super chat down because it helps the algorithms. All right. Even though it's hard, the algorithms don't like me anyway, but that's it. So, and hello to everyone who said hello to me. And hello to all of you. Okay. What do we got here? All right, we got a little question. I've been speaking to this girl for 3 months, and she's going traveling for 6 months in December. What are your thoughts? We are both into each other, but it's early days between us both. Yeah, I would assume you're not in a relationship after 3 months. Okay, not really. Um, not nothing that's stable up with that question. Back up. Well, there's more information here. She broke up with her ex for me. Then she is now going traveling for more context. All right. Well, first of all, if she broke up with her ex for you, that's already a problem. Okay. You're a rebound. If she broke up with her ex for her, because the guy wasn't a good match for her and there were problems, then that's, maybe something that could work out in the future. More has a better prognosis. Okay. If you were the guy she monkey branched to, she's going to monkey branch to someone else while she's gone. And that's fine because you've only been with her for 3 months. Okay. So you need to consider that and probably not be giving away your commitment and you need to be dating other people. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that this is a catch and release situation. This is where you're like, hey, I really care about you and I've been having a great time with you. And I want to keep kind of going with that. But obviously, you're gone for 6 months. That's hard. So, there's no relationship here. I'm not going to expect you to be in a relationship with me or be my girlfriend. Like, we'll just keep in touch and see how things go. Right. And that's kind of your mindset. How you verbally present that is going to be up to you. There's different ways to do that. And I'd have to know more nuances about your situation, but that's your framework, which is I've been having a great time. I'd like to keep talking to you, but you go do your thing, and I'll be here, and I'll be doing my thing, and then we'll see what happens when we get back. It's kind of has to be open ended like that. You have to let her gravitate towards you and decide that she wants the relationship. She wants to try to stick together, whatever. And she's got to want to put the effort into having that. And then you just kind of keep contact and keep going with that contact and you can build the fantasy over distance. She's had time in with you for 90 days now, not like, not 90 days, but 3 months worth of seeing each other. Right. I'm assuming you guys have already had sex. Hopefully that's, if not, there's not very much of a neurochemical bond there. But either way, you can build fantasy long distance and have her be enthusiastic about seeing you when you get back. But when she gets back, consider it a fresh start. All right. Because chances are she's hooked up or she's been interested or she's had other things going on within that 6 months. And chances are so are you. And if not, it's probably not good. Right. And so you don't have a real relationship yet, so don't treat it like that. The biggest mistake you can make is start treating situations like they're relationships that are further along than you actually are. Because what that is going to do is going to send a signal to the girl that you're low value and that to her hindbrain, to her monkey brain, you're sending a signal that she's better than you, you're low value, you're not much of a catch. And that's why you are, putting yourself into a commitment, and having a mindset and having behaviors of a commitment that's maybe a year in within the first month or two, right? You have to let things unfold naturally, organically in a relationship. You can't if you put things if you get ahead of yourself, her attraction is going to go south. All right. If you try to lock her down, get possessive, she's as good as gone. You need to treat it like, it's catch and release. You caught her, now release her. If she comes back, awesome. All right. You need to stay on your mental point of origin, not be afraid to date other people and do your own thing. If you allow your emotional investment to go super high for somebody who doesn't have time in with you and the ability to have a face-to-face experiences with you, you're probably going to get burned. Now, that being said, though, she's putting in the effort and you guys are, having great conversations, and treat them like dates, do face-to-face Zoom calls, right? Do little text exchanges. Treat these like you're building up, you're building a connection with each other. But what you're not doing is building a real relationship yet. You're building the promise or fantasy of a relationship in the future. Okay. For the both of you. And as long as you understand that, know where that's at, and you can seduce a girl long distance. You can seduce a girl over text medium and video and voice talking for longer periods of time. I know because I've done this and I'm a military person, and I have military guys who've been able to do this, right? So it's there, and you can do that over a course of something like 6 months. However, she's got to be interested in doing that with you, right? And the biggest kiss of death is any kind of possessiveness or trying to lock her down. That just isn't going to work for a period. So yeah, that is that. There you go. Let's look at what else we got. So everybody else is throwing in their 2 cents about it. Just move on. I mean, keep in contact with her. Let her be the remember, you protect the commitment, and she can decide whether that she wants some of that from you or not. And you can just keep things going, if you want, but I mean, don't lock yourself down with somebody, right? In response to that, appreciate that, Apex. We went on holiday, so the rate of development was a bit higher in the early days. But, yep, and which is a fantasy scenario, right? And it's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're on holiday, it's what's developing is a connection between the two of you under completely different circumstances and environment than what your day-to-day environment's going to be like. It's a totally different frame based on the environment. What's the frame going to be like when you're doing mundane day-to-day stuff, right? And so and that's remains to be seen. She had a great time, a great experience. Now, that emotional impact for her, that can be really high for her and make her want to see you as an option when she comes back. And because it's travel, there's not necessarily much permanence happening with other people, all that. So maybe she'll see you as that person, but you can't give a shit. And the reason why you can't give a shit is because she broke, you just told me, and I don't know the details, but you told me she broke up with a boyfriend to be with you. So I assume what happened was she went on holiday and met you, and decided to fuck around with you and got rid of the other guy, or told you at least she got rid of the other guy, right? So now she's going to travel for 6 months and you are the other guy. You've been the other rebound guy for 3 months. Chances are she's just going to repeat behavior, bro. Like, you're not that special. No offense. Nobody is. Do you know what I'm saying? And so girls don't, I mean, girls tend to default to their behavior that they always do and that they've classically done in the past, unless of course they've had a bad experience or something to cause them to challenge that behavior. So if she did that pattern with you, left some dude to be with you, and then 3 months later she's not going to travel for 6 months, chances are you'll be the guy that she tells some other guy she broke up with, right? Chances are, and I'm not trying to make you like have anxiety over it. There shouldn't be any. You shouldn't care at this level and stage. You knew she was going on to travel, right? You should have calibrated your emotions to that if this is something that's upsetting. And again, catch and release program. Let her prove to you that she sees you as someone she wants to build something serious with. Okay. Otherwise, it's just having fun, hanging out, and that's it. Right. And if she goes, does her thing, you do your thing. And then if you're still single, maybe you'll find a different girl that you like better and all that stuff between now and then when she comes back. But if not, and you're still single and she didn't find anybody better, she's still single, you just start from scratch. Right. So, um, question then being, should I remain in contact for the remaining 2 months before she leaves or set my frame and boundary? What frame and boundary? You are casually seeing somebody. What is the frame and boundary here? If your frame and boundary is anything more, fucking these French doors in this room just like blew open. So that's really cool. Anyway, if your frame and your whatever, fuck, dude, come on. What boundaries you talk about? You're already thinking like a commitment already. How long? All right. If you're already thinking commitment and you're already thinking about putting these boundaries and standards. Thank you. So into something that is a casual situation at best. And if it's anything more than that, that's a problem. You see what I'm saying? And so like just hang out, have fun, and that's it. And then go back to your life. Go out. She comes over. You guys hang out, have fun, bang, whatever. And then see you when I see you. See you tomorrow. See you next week. Stay the night. Don't stay the night. That's how you treat this. You can't put what I just don't know what boundaries or frame we're talking about. If you see another guy, like, then that's it. I don't know what you mean by that, but it doesn't mean good. Anything good. I can already tell. And so it's yeah. Do you want to remain in contact with her? It says for 2 months before she leaves. Well, what do you mean by remain in contact with her? Like see her? Oh, yeah. Why not? Do you like seeing her? Do you guys like seeing each other? Then see each other. Are you guys already long distance? Did you guys meet on vacation and now you're long distance again? This is not a relationship if that's the case. This is a problem, right? I'm so glad you asked these questions, by the way. So I don't mean to but I'm going to kind of give you the third degree a little bit, right? And be nice about it. More nicer than I am with my guys in sessions, that's for sure. But listen, as you need to hear this shit. There are different phases of a relationship, and you need to react and act according to the phase that you're in. You can't be in the dating or casual phase of relationship and then treating it like it's commitment or treating it like she's your girlfriend. Those two things don't go together. You know what I mean? You can't, and this is what guys screw themselves all the time with this. And a lot of times girls will push guys into it or they'll want that for themselves. But, they're not aware and self-aware about what's going on here. And so you're not in a relationship with this girl, bro. Like you can't be based on what you're saying. So you have to remove that emotional, you're emotionally ahead of yourself. Okay. You need to detach that a bit because that's how you're going to get burned. All right. And it's not good for her either. She's she's gonna not feel like she's in a good situation either. You know what I mean? So it's not even enough time yet to be considering anything like these serious questions. It's literally it just catch and release. She hangs out, has fun, leaves. She has to decide as a girl who's attractive, who has options, right? She has to decide that she really doesn't want to play the field on vacation, and that she wants to be with you and commit to you. And the problem is you want that too badly, most likely, because you want that attachment. Well, stop it. All right, because she just got out of a relationship to be with you a couple of months ago. It's not there yet. You know what I mean? And so you anyway. Fucking so so should I remain in contact for yeah, see her or don't see her. That's up to you. If you like seeing her, see her. Is this somebody you like dating, like seeing? Then keep seeing her. Why wouldn't you see her till right up till she leaves? You know? And so yeah, I'll kind of keep going here on the comments because it's an interesting discussion. We're totally derailed from the topic, but that's fine. So what else do we got here? Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. I'm glad I'm helpful. Glad I'm able to help you out, man. Oh man. All right, good man. I'm glad. I'm glad you're learning here, and it's not like I said. It's all to help. It's not like I'm not being a jerk here or anything. Well, it might be an asshole to like you know dog on you or anything like that. This is to help you out for sure. And so it's how you demonstrate your value is kind of a part of how you demonstrate your value is how you treat yourself, and your emotional investment. It's not just boundaries, though that's important. And there's boundaries, which are things that she's not going to cross. Okay. There's conditions, right? Which means there's things that she needs to be able to meet, right? Like criteria or standards you want her to meet. But then there's also your level of investment too, right? So like if you just start dating a girl, this is such a common problem. If you just start dating a girl, like a, you don't want to start treating her and having invested behaviors like she's a girlfriend when you're on your second or third date. And I know that's not where you're at, but that's an extreme example. But that happens so often. I got guys who will get out of long term relationships, they miss the long term relationship stuff. And what they do is they end up getting, like, when they get girls, they get them on dates and stuff, and things are starting to move along. They start treating that girl like she is, even just in the language they use. Oh, so what are you doing tomorrow? And oh, okay, baby, this and that, and cutesy talk, and like acting like a big pussy. This is for these girls, which is already problematic. But that's what they did with their last girlfriend. Now they're doing with this girlfriend, and it's fucking third date, and she's like, he's nice, but I don't know. Like, really, she just wants to get her hair pulled and her face stuffed into a pillow, and you're going okay, like you're in an engagement, you're gonna get married next week or some shit, and it's like third, fourth, fifth date, or it's 2 months of dating or something like that, and her behavior is seeing you and then going to do other things, right? It's not like she's that invested. Guys do that shit all the time. You can't do that. You can't. And when you're seeing somebody and you see, okay, like shit, had a great time on vacation with this chick. We're talking, we're seeing each other. Cool. She leaves in a couple months though to go on a sabbatical traveling for 6 months. Okay. Like, well, first of all, it's like who's paying for that travel and what's going on there? So this girl must be probably as a young girl, I'm gonna guess, in her early 20s. Dude, she's just out to have fun. And so then a guy will be like, man, she's so hot. And we had these great experiences. And of course, she's loving it. She's in the experience too. I love it. This is great. oh my, I found my true love, and then she's off on vacation. Like, so you have to know going ahead of time. Okay, like she's throwing her emotional energy into this. She's role playing the love role with me because it feels good and is a lot of fun. We're having ourselves our own little romantic comedy now, for the next few weeks. But I know for a fact she goes back to college out of state or another country or somewhere next month. Or I know she goes to travel and will be gone for not just a week or two, but like gone for a while. Or she's taking a job in another location, whatever. Like, there could be plans for her to come back. There could be no plans for her to come back. And guys will start, they won't calibrate that. They'll sit there and go fall into this framework. And then she's leaving and it's like, I love you forever. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you, Becky. And she's like gone and off to Europe or wherever. Maybe you're from Europe. She's going to United States. Who knows, right? Whatever. And they're in a week or two, they're meeting new dudes. And then this guy's in a consult with me going, what did I do to lose fucking frame? Like, bro, your fucking frame was off to begin with because you didn't calibrate your subjective understanding of reality with the actual reality of what was going on, which is that there can't be a commitment here yet. It's too early and there's factors that are involved. That means you cannot have that face-to-face time on a regular basis enough to develop a real relationship. You can develop a connection, you can develop all sorts of stuff. I've had multiple relationships that developed while I was on deployments or overseas. I had experiences with the girls before I left, and then I left, and then that developed. But the girl was driving that development. It was the same thing. It was just like, we'll see. We'll see. Right. And then that puts her in a place of having to have enough freedom and feeling like she's free here to really assess the situation and decide if you're a guy she wants to continue with. And of course, there's some back and forth that's going to happen. There's you'll have your phone calls, you'll have your video chats, whatever. And she can decide, like, hey, was the experience good enough before we left for me? And is the experience good over long distance for me to want to continue this? And this feels better, but she needs to be able to ask herself, does this feel better than when I go to the bar with my friends and guys hit on me and I don't like those guys as much, right? Yes, it does feel better. So I'll turn down these guys, not just, I'm going to go talk. I look forward. Will me going out and seeing what guys are looking for who are hitting on me in the sexual marketplace, will that cause me to miss this guy while we're geographically separated more and want to talk to him more and tell him about it, and then get a laugh about it and feel that alpha presence because guys are such bitches now? Is that going to be good for me, or am I going to like somebody else who's in front of me? Is somebody else going to say or do the right things? And you don't know the answer to that, but the worst thing you can do is overcommit and overinvest, because now you become a burden on her from making that choice, and you demonstrate that she's not making a good choice by going with you because your behavior shows her that you don't have a lot of other options, and that from a standpoint of value, you're not higher value. Now, this doesn't apply though, of course, if you were seeing this girl for a year and then you went away for 6 months. I see that all the time with dudes who go on deployments, soldiers, stuff like that. Whole different scenario, right? You've developed a relationship over a year. But a few months, and especially coming off a rebound, no, dude. No. And so you know what to do. I think that's enough. You know what to do. And this is actually really good. I'm really glad you asked that. So, because it does apply here too, right? Is losing the frame is kind of what happens. Now, I have a client. I got to go to. So I don't even know if I'm going to get to this topic. I'm just going to have to like, I'm going to sum up this topic in about 5 minutes. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to sum this topic up in 5 minutes. If you guys want more information about it, jump on my email list because it's free. I think I did write a whole thing. I think. No, I write a lot. That's the thing. And I write it for my groups, that my coaching groups. And then I take portions of that. I put that in my newsletter for free. I think what's scheduled right now is stuff on getting the spark back and dread and some of these things in a better sort of understanding in a better way. So jump on that. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything and it's all good information. If you're not on my newsletter, getting the free information behind YouTube and censorship and all that, you're really missing out. So jump on there. But if you want me to talk about this more next time I go live, which will probably be next week, Tuesday, put comments in the chat. If you want me to get into this more, put in the comments section and let me know. If you want me to cover a different topic, that's okay too. Let me know that. But I will sum it up like this. All right. There are steps. And what you want to do is you want to address and want to have an understanding of what the problem is to begin with. You want to be able to assess what happened, right? So you want to be able to do like a relationship audit. That's a big part of this, okay? Because you need to figure out where you're at in order to figure out what you need to do in order to get to where you want to go. And that's to do a relationship audit. What I mean is you look at the scenario, you look at your girl, and you start really, those French doors popping open again. You really start, from way back in the beginning and how things were. And you start to really analyze what happened. Start to look at where did things start to go south? What happened before that? And there's ways that I help guys do this, but you want to get an assessment of everything that happened. Because what happened was, if you follow my frame steps, the new channel, I need a next video to come out when I'm done editing it, but I have a frame series on Apex Inner Game on this channel for free. There's a frame series here. Talk about frame, but she saw you or was programmed with stage 1 of frame to see you a certain way. And now that things have gone south, she sees you differently. So at what point did that happen? Was it gradual or was it a definite event? And then what is the difference? What way does she see you that's different now compared to before? What and you want to really do some inventory and assess this and get help from people who know. Guys will put this stuff up in the community that I run because they do that because it's hard to assess this on your own, because as men, we protect our egos and we have cognitive dissonance. We're really bad at that. And so you'll fucking lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Get an assessment. Now, from there, I have all these notes and I'll share them on like I said, next time if you want me to continue with this particular topic, or I'll save it for another day if not. But all these things and what I'm going into is possible reasons why, what happened, in some action plans. But I'll tell you this. If a lot of these things revolve around that she sees you differently than she saw you before. So what you have to do is you have to be able to break the pattern of that. You have to break those patterns, right? And so there's positive, I say positive, but there's good ways to break the pattern and there's bad ways to break the pattern. No, a lot of guys break the pattern by holding it all in, getting really frustrated, and then blowing up on her. That's not going to break the pattern in a good way. That's going to further erode her perceptions of you, which is why things have been going south and drying up. Okay. And so a better way is going to be whether there's a problem that needs to be addressed because you identified that there's something there, or whether it's simply you lost yourself in this relationship and you need to get yourself back and start with working on you. And that by pulling away to do that, not taking a separation or break from the relationship, but just taking your time and energy and focusing on you and focusing on the stuff you've neglected, right? And then all of it in causing yourself to get better, then she sees that and goes, huh, Wonder what's going on here, right? Or, potentially you've gotten complacent in that relationship. And this is the most common reason, actually, is there's really not the most common thing, though, is really there isn't a catastrophic event. Usually guys let themselves go. That happens. But usually the biggest reason is, guys, you get lazy, you get complacent. Why guys get lazy and complacent? Again, it has to do with ego protection. Instead of facing, accountability on things that create existential threats like your mate value, guys will get the girl and then they'll totally relax and they'll stop, you know, having sex with her differently. They'll stop doing cool things. They will stop making themselves look good. They will stop doing all the things that made him attractive in the beginning. They'll stop doing those things. That's probably one of your biggest mistakes. And so I can go through a systemized process. That's what I call a step one once you've done the assessment of getting those things back that you lost and having a little bit more unpredictability with how you're approaching your relationship in a good way, more or less, and particularly in the bedroom. And then, of course, the cool stuff you guys are doing together. Okay. And so there's a way of doing that. So what it does is it breaks the pattern where she sees you in this way that's not as good as before and things have gotten dull, and you identify what that problem is, and then she's in a pattern, and maybe she's been in a pattern for weeks or for months of not being that excited about you. It's not like she hates you, but she's not that excited about you either, right? And so what you do is you break that pattern by all of a sudden demonstrating higher SMV with your focus and attention, your self-work and making yourself better, and then also in how you court her and how you treat her and how you handle her, to include arguments, fights, things like that. So when you change those things, you go from dull, same thing every day, her having a perception of you that's rather fixed, into her going, wait a second, that's not fitting the normal patterns. I wonder what's going on here. That inspires curiosity again. And curiosity is a precursor to her becoming invested and her becoming attracted again. So that is the short answer. If you'd like to learn more, let me know in the comments, and not just the chat, but the comments. Take care.